everybody, and welcome to the show. Coming up on this month's audio video show, we talk about depression, triumph, and taxes. We will discuss rain, elevators, and dumb dogs, like an Annie. But most of all, we'll do it with style. So why miss anything? Stick around for a new episode of The Nightfly, because it all starts right now. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the podcast that is streaming on YouTube. If you want to see the video and me in my apartment that looks strangely a lot like Dre Seinfeld's. Or if you just want to listen on our regularly scheduled audio show, then you can do that as well. But hello and welcome to the program. I am Dave Juska. I am your host. It is July 2021, and what a week it was. And when I say that, it means really didn't make a difference, or did it? Now, I'm going to tell you a couple of things. Then we're going to bring in little Memo Salazar, because we did that show in Queens on Sunday, and I recorded him the next day. So I have that recorded. I'm going to put that in a second. And we talked for, 20 minutes or so about the show. We went over all the bands. It's kind of funny, and Memo's a joy, so that'll be good. But let me just tell you really quickly. So then I'm going to tell you about the week a little bit. And then after we talk to Memo, I'm going to show you some slides, as I said in the previous podcasts, about like the jokes and stuff I found in a drawer that I think you're going to like. Let me fix my mic a little bit. That's much better. And that's the way the show is going to progress today. So hopefully it won't keep you too long, but we will have our normal length show. And I highly recommend watching the video for certain portions of it. But of course, if you don't, I will describe everything flawlessly so you don't feel like you're missing out. But of course, there'll be the little tinge of the fact that you have to feel like you're missing out, because what's the point of making the video and if you're not going to watch it anyway? So, yes, we'll talk about the last Sunday at Queens, the 12-hour extravaganza outside show in a minute. But I was making a face. See, that's something you can't see unless you see the video. I just want to tell you something. I want to start off with Monday. I'm such a strange guy. You know this already. I was so depressed. Not because the show, well, maybe I was a little depressed about the show, and I think I might have talked about it with Memo. I can't remember. I was just, I've been having these, you have these times sometimes where you're just like, wow, everybody's here with their family. I'm not with my family. I don't have a family. I don't know. I'm just pissed off, whatever. And then, of course, I had to leave. As soon as I left the place, it started to rain again. You know how I'm going crazy in the stupid motorcycle in the rain. It's like it was perfect all day until I had to travel home. So annoying. So when I woke up the next day, I was quite depressed, like really depressed all day on Monday. And then, of course, that's just the way it gets. And I was going to go out, and I did go out to see Colin Smith play his wonderful guitar at the Olive Tree at the Comedy Cellar. And I had a meeting with Noam that I was going to do beforehand. So that was my big plan. And I'm like, you know what? I got to get out of the house, even though I don't want to. I could stay here forever. So I was very depressed, and it's just so funny. I mean, I guess alcohol is just good for me, because as soon as I drank it, I was with Elon, and I'm like, boy, this is the best time ever, right? I mean, it really changed my mood. Oh, because Elon and I were taping a Billy Joel thing, and he knew how depressed I was. Oh, I know what it was. It was the song we were talking about in the East. It's a brand new song off Cold Spring Harbor called Everybody Loves You Now, which I'd never heard. And that song, once I started talking about it and playing it, that lifted me up a lot. And I'll play that when it's coming out. But because I've never heard Cold Spring Harbor. So here's the first song from Cold Spring Harbor. I'm like, oh my God, if the rest of the album is like this is going to be my favorite album of all time. Because I'm an idiot that likes to do a podcast of songs I've never heard before. But, I just like talking. So it makes sense. So Yeah, then we went down and I went to the bar beforehand, had a little drink, and I was already feeling better. And then I had several drinks and I just felt so much better and I was having a good time. Just out of Hannah and her sisters, you started to get hooked on the movie. I'm like, these are really funny people up there. And it's like, it's not all bad. It's just really funny. I mean, I'm just such a mess. I guess everybody's like this, but I can turn on such a dime in both ways, being happy or sad. But it was really fun. And then I went home again, and oh right, I remember I was drunk, so I don't like to, I don't mind taking a taxi now or anything, but I like to walk off the alcohol a little bit, so I like to walk home a little bit and then either take the motorcycle or the thing. But I didn't. I went to like a halal, with the meat and lamb and chicken and rice. And I went to one of those places on like 14th Street. And then I was walking and I was like, I'll just walk until I don't want to walk anymore. And then I'll take a city bike. And that's what I did. But of course, as soon as I got on the city bike, it started to rain every single night. Only when I get on the mode of transportation of a bike or a motorcycle or a cab, because I'm only taking the cabs or anything if it's raining. It's driving me crazy. I was really driving me crazy. I'm like, how is that possible that it's not raining all day, but as soon as I get on the bike, it starts to rain? I mean, what kind of message is that? Again, if COVID never happened, I would think this was personal. But like I've said, during COVID, I don't believe that anymore. Like I said, God hates everybody. Because why would he ruin everybody's weekend every weekend during the summer if you want to go to the beach? It rains every goddamn weekend. Why would he do that? On Tuesday, we had the show. I was very hungover, but we had the show, and I thought it went really good. I had a really good time with Mike Vecchione and Mark Cohen. This week, coming up on the Comedy Cellar show, will be Jeff Ross and Esther Koo, who is adorable, but a little annoying for some. But it doesn't matter because the week after that, I'm having Marina Franklin. That's going to be the last show because I can't take it. I'm looking forward to it being the last show. I just need a break. And then in September, I'll come up with something. I want to do a football show in some incarnation, but I don't want to bother you guys with having to watch it. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I know Colin still wants to do the show. So if he wants to do it and he's happy doing music stuff, I'm kind of in on that. So we'll figure something out. But in 2 weeks will be our final show in that. And coming up on Billy Joel this week, as long as we're here, will be the Don't Ask Me Why. Thank God, a hit, air quotes. And then our interview with Julian Villard, who does that terrific song. Actually, I can show you some of the video here because I don't think we'll get in trouble for his music.
It feels like love again for the first time. I make my way back down the long line, such a long line. And it feels like love again for the first time in a while. It's been a while.
This is my favorite one where he's playing on the Brooklyn, on the BQE and stuff like that stuff. I really like it. And we're going to interview him about Billy Joel. So that is it's like we don't have any songs left anymore. It's so weird. And then we're going to have our D's wrap up and then Easy Money. Very excited. And as I was talking to Mark Cohen, who was on the Comedy Cellar show the other day, he's friends with Dennis Blair. Dennis Blair, you probably don't know, wrote Easy Money. So I'd really like to talk to him. I think that'll be super, super fun. But then I have to tell you about Wednesday. This is all real quick. Not real quick. I guess if we weren't doing the video podcast, I would take more time, but I want to get to Memo and then I want to get to these slides. And, it's not very interesting. Well, I'm showing some stuff as we're talking, as you know. I always like to show stuff I'm talking about, which makes the video a little bit more entertaining. But so on Wednesday, I had a podcast I was doing in Jersey. So I was excited. Like these guys saw the Cars movie and they're like, would you come on our podcast? I'm like, sure. And like, we could do it on Zoom. I'm like, what are you kidding? I'll come to Jersey. I like any reason to come to Jersey. I'm sorry, I just saw my phone. I put it on airplane mode and yet something fell through. How's that possible? So, how is that possible? If I have it on airplane mode, how did I get a thing about a tweet that just popped up? That's weird. Anywho, I figured I'll go visit Rhoda early. So I got there like 9. I said, I'm going to come visit at 9 a.m. She goes, oh, well, we'll have breakfast. And I'm like, you know what? I don't really want any breakfast because, my stomach will hurt. I can't have a big breakfast because I got so much to do that day. I'll have one of your stupid frozen bagels. This is the perfect time. I'll have one of your stupid frozen bagels. That's all you ever offer people, and some butter. And you can make me a coffee in a Keurig cup. How do you like that? I'm going for it. And she goes, oh, yeah, I don't have any bagels. I'm like, you don't have any. I had to relax. All the stuff she's ever offered. The first time I wanted it, she didn't have it. Now, a normal mother, and I didn't want her to do it, but she goes, well, I'll go out and get it. And I'm like, no, it's not necessary. I'll just stop at Dunkin' Donuts. She goes, no, it's no big deal. I'm like, nah, it's all right. If you don't want to, it's no big, whatever. We're both saying it's no big deal. But then when I got the car in the morning, I called her, I called her and I said, did you get bagels? Because otherwise, no, you told me not to. I'm like, okay, just checking. But wouldn't you think most mothers, Jewish mothers or Italian mothers, would go to the store and get the stuff their son requested? I am not saying she had to do that. We made a deal. I'm just pointing it out. That's what they're supposed to do. It's like, you know what? Let me go out and get it anyway. But that's not a big deal. It's just kind of funny that, well, we've talked about this 100 times. It's just crazy that she just doesn't have any food in the house. What kind of Jewish mother is that? She's ruining the mold we've put up for ourselves about Jewish mothers. I mean, ruining it, destroying it, blowing the lid off of it. So I went there, and then I went to the podcast, which was in Eatontown, New Jersey, and they had just had a flood. I thought we were going to be in this great studio, and it was really a nice studio, but they had a flood. So, but this guy, and I'm going to show you a picture later, who runs the studio is a collector. So he had all this comic books and action figures, and he had this skateboard, a Golden Girls skateboard. I'm going to show you the picture later. I said, can I take a picture of this? That's awesome. And we had a really good time and good conversation. And, we get to promote Turbocharge, which I will come to Jersey. I will come wherever you want me to go and talk about Turbocharge if you want to talk about Turbocharge. He just found it because he does a rock and roll podcast, and he decided to do a show about the cars. So he was doing research like the way I do for a podcast. And he's like, there's nothing on the cars. And then he found this movie, purchased it, watched it, and was like, something's wrong about this movie. And then he recognized I guess he does comedy, or he's in the comedy world. He recognized, because we had met before at the Stress Factory, and he recognized all the names, and he's like, wait, something is amiss about this movie. But what he didn't know is how much fact there is to it. And, again, I keep pointing out, as much as people hate the movie, it is accurate, and that's all the cars are going to get. No one's ever going to do a documentary or a serious movie about the cars. So again, you're welcome, America. So then I went to the beach, to Long Branch, where I'm thinking about moving, and I hung out with my friends there, not David Elliott, who I'm going to see tomorrow, but some, other friends that live there. And I got there at 3. Yeah, I got there probably around 3. I was really taking my time, and I know they work, and they probably weren't going to be able to get together until like 5. And I started to panic. I'm like, well, what the hell am I going to do? How am I going to be outside that long? You know how I start to panic in the heat and the sun with my fair skin and complexion. So I'm like, what am I going to do? So I got out, and I was just walking to the boardwalk for a while, which was exactly the plan. I parked my car, and I walked on the boardwalk. And then I said, my stomach started to hurt, which hasn't been happening a lot lately. But I knew it was stress related, because I was like, well, how long am I going to have to hang around in the heat? And I was starting to stress. I had 2 cups of coffee, like a Dunkin' Donuts and a 7-Eleven coffee. So maybe that helped too. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back to my car and get a little high, because that always helps. And there's no reason not to. I'm not doing anything. So I went back to the car, took like 2 puffs, and then I fell asleep. And then I woke up and felt so much better. It was crazy. It was stressful because I was able to relax, which is odd because normally pot doesn't do that. But this was like medicinal pot that, you know, I got from somebody who has a prescription. Maybe that's why it was just so relaxing. I never fall asleep on pot, but then it turned out in the car it was a nice breeze from the ocean, and I didn't have to keep the car running, and I dozed off for a little bit. It was perfect, and then I was good for the rest of the day. It was beautiful, beautiful. And then I went to my friend's house apartment, and I saw this is the apartments I'm thinking about moving to. It's this place called Pier Village in Long Branch. And I looked at the apartments. They're very nice. But it's so funny. They had problems with their upstairs neighbors. Like a lot of problems. They have this dog that was just barking and barking. It was so annoying. But they have problems with their upstairs neighbors. I'm like, well, I could do that in New York City. I would definitely have to move to a top floor. But the places are nice. And then I'm like, you know, when you go outside, there's just so much action because it's the summer. In the fall, it'll probably be better. But it is a little community. And we went to a bar, and this guy knows all the people there. Why wouldn't he? I'll know everybody there if I ever move there. But it was we went to the restaurant after, and, you know, it was the best time I had in the sense of thinking about moving there. I think when I go to Dave Valley, it's just a good time. And, he has this certain life, but these are people that have like a normal existence that I know. Dave's a professional and does this kind of stuff, but these people were like, this is the life I would lead. Do you know what I mean? Maybe I'm not explaining it correctly, but I got kind of a glimpse. And again, I have another photo. They had a movie. They show a movie on the courtyard there. I'll show you the thing. It's really kind of great. But again, it's like, I don't know. Why am I leaving New York? Because it's crowded and I don't want that anymore. But then this place was crowded too. So I don't know. It's all, but I'm definitely really, really thinking about it, as you know. So I don't know. But again, I'll show you more the slides later and we'll talk further about it. But so I went to this restaurant, and when we first just got a couple of drinks in the afternoon, the waitress said, yeah, we have great chicken parm here. Well, you know what it is for me. That's throwing the gauntlet down. And I'm like, really? Do you? Do you think you have? Because if you remember the place, the Isle of Capri, where I got into a fight with that lady, I'm like, yeah, prove it. So we went back, and I had the chicken parm, and the bartender was a dick. I don't know why he was a dick. My friends knew him, but I could tell he was being a dick. I know when somebody's being an asshole, they don't like me right away. Maybe he thought I was drunk. I don't know. But he wasn't buying anything I was selling. And I know when people don't like me right away, I can just tell, or at least I could this time. And they're like, what are you talking about? Look, I know shit. This guy doesn't dig me, which is kind of fine, but I'm kind of like also like George Costanza. I'm like, just tell him the waiter liked him. So he was being kind of standoffish, and I was ordering all these appetizers. We were ordering all these appetizers, and then I was getting the chicken parm, and he was like, chicken parm is very big. You might want to not order all those. I'm like, no, don't worry about it, asshole. He's like giving me shit that the chicken parm's big. He's like, it's a lot of food. I'm like, grow up. You know how I hate that. Don't fucking tell me what I can and can't order. I'm a goddamn adult. I'll leave stuff over if I want to. It turns out the chicken parm was huge. But he had thrown down the gauntlet. Again, he had thrown down the challenge. So I had to finish the chicken parm. And I probably would have stopped with 3/4 left. But I'm like, fuck this guy. If I'm going to let him win with his chicken parm challenge, and that was not going to be a factor. So I made sure I finished it. I'm like, yeah, it was good. Thanks a lot, jerk off. I hated that guy. My friend wrote me the next day. He took the phone. He took his food home, and he goes, "Hey, I got a note in the thing going from the bartender that night saying your friend was a dick." And I'm like, "Wait a minute, what?" Which was pretty funny. And so then I went home, because I just never get home. It's just like, what a long day. And I drove home. Of course, it started to rain. I mean, what the fuck? But at least I was in my car, which of course isn't that great because my car leaks when it rains, which is kind of hilarious. And I went home, and I'm like, oh, I'll be glad to get home. And it's like 12:30 at night. I parked the car in the garage. I couldn't believe the door was open because normally I got to ring the bell. The guy doesn't show up. He's sleeping downstairs. I don't know. I parked the car in the garage. There's two people waiting there. The elevator's broken, and the guy's downstairs in the sub basement, like screaming, "Can you help me?" And I'm like, what? Because the two guys there, I guess they weren't monthly people. So I'm like, well, sometimes you got to ring this. And I know how to use all this stuff. I talked to them through the intercom and stuff. And the guy was stuck. The elevator was working. I'm like, well, this makes sense. Because, a lot of times that elevator they got two elevators and they break all the time. So he's like, it's not working. Can you send the second elevator down? I'm like, oh, okay. So I had to get in the second elevator because you can't close the doors, I guess, unless you're inside. And then I took it down. And then he's like, oh, it's working. And I'm like, God damn it, you son of a bitch. But it was, it's still exciting being in those huge freight elevators and controlling them. It is kind of a thrill. And I wasn't in a bad mood or anything, so I didn't care. And I'm never in a rush. Once the car is parked, I'm good to go. So when he came back up, he goes, thank you for saving me. And I'm like, oh, you're welcome. I don't care. Because he knows me. And I just felt bad for those guys that were waiting. He goes, well, the guy went down there and that was a half hour ago. And I'm like, really? He's been down there for a half hour? Because that's not normal. I said, I guarantee the elevator's stuck. There's got to be something wrong because they're pretty good about that. But yeah, it was just really funny. I'm like, it didn't bother me, but it's like one of those things. I'm like, wow, I'm never going to get home. It's so late already. And my mother's was such a long time. I woke up at 6:30 that day. It was almost 24 hours by the time I get home. And then, of course, I still got to walk home. But I just thought it was really funny because, who has to do that? Whoever has to do that? No one. No one has to save their parking garage guy from once they bring their car home. I mean, it's ridiculous. But it is funny. Anyway, just to end things before I bring Memo in, yesterday was awful. But yet, for some reason, I went out to get coffee with Nick Griffin, the comedian, and I think that put me in a good mood. I had a lot of coffee. We went to the diner, and then I just made calls all day and took care of, like, financial stuff. Like some days I was just like, all right, I got to do this now. And I called the IRS because they were, apparently I owe $12,000. I had no idea. And they're like, well, we need it. And I'm like, do you? I don't know where it's from. I must have fucked something up. And that's just to New York State. I'm not even talking about the government. I don't know what I did, but that was a shocker. And so that kind of threw off my day. And yet I wasn't that upset about it. In a way, for me, for some reason, I'm this messed up in the head, as you know, for the Poltergeist theme going through my head from last week. I'm so messed up that I like the challenge of seeing how am I going to get out of this mess. I think that's why I always like the gambling stuff. I'm like, wow, I owe a lot of money to those guys. How am I going to get out of this? There's something very exciting to see if I'm going to somehow worm my way out of either paying the IRS or my rent or any bills. It's, again, they've thrown down the gauntlet, the chicken parm challenge, and I accept their challenge. And I don't know where this comes from and why I'm excited about it. I mean, it's ridiculous, right? But have you ever heard of anybody being that insane? Because that's what that is. It's insane. But exciting. How are ya? All right. Let me show you the thing with Memo we'll talk about last Sunday. It's hilarious because I'm just mad at every band that showed up that day. And it's classic Just Cow and classic Nightfly. And you love Memo. So let's get to him right now.
Everything you do irritates me. When you're not here, the things I know you're going to do when you come in irritate me.
The Nightfly with Dave Juskow.
Well, hello, Memo. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here.
Really?
I brought my notes. I'm ready to talk about Uptown Girl. So
No, you got
Uptown
you got
Girl.
the entire wrong podcast. You idiot.
I thought this is not the Billy. I was ready. I had Up Down Girl, and then I had Tell Her About It because I thought you'd be doing the T's and the U's today.
No, and the fact is we're not getting to those for another 2 years. It's
All right.
really annoying. I mean, I was at a bar the other day and this girl is still angry that we have not put down Easter Alexa in the D's. Can you blame her? Everybody's angry about that. That's all Elon's doing. I would have totally put that in the D's.
Right. That does make sense.
So he's got to take their wrath. Anyway, I just brought you in, and I know your time is very, very precious. First of all, I don't know what your deal is.
What?
Well, I'll tell you what. I sit at home all day and I do nothing, and I don't get anything done. I don't have any kids. I watch TV. And for some reason, you work every day.
Yeah, it's
really
true.
hard. You've got a kid you got to take care of, and you were able to put together an entire festival for your community. You do stuff for the community board, and then in between you were able to actually practice with 2 different bands and make a short film for yourself. You know what? Fuck you. That's like, where do you even get time to do all that? And I keep complaining that I don't have enough time. Well, I never complain.
I mean, the thing is but like, so everyone's always talking about like, did you see this show or did you see that show? And I'm always like, no, I didn't.
But that's because you don't have TV. But
well, I mean, I have Netflix
story.
and stuff. I have nobody watches TV anymore. It's all on like online streaming. I have a computer. I just don't have time to watch. I just don't have time to watch. I don't watch them.
How dare you say nobody watches TV anymore? How do you think I just watched Smokey and the Bandit 2 last week?
Right. No, there's 5 people
on cable.
Yeah. There's like you, my Aunt Lynn. No, I mean, there's like, yeah, you know what
over
I mean.
70. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do
you ever play the board games behind you on that shelf?
Sure, I have.
Okay.
So anyway, I just wanted to talk to you. So Memo organized this, as I said, this big shindig on Sunday outdoors. He closed off one of the streets, got the bar, the Solid State bar that he is part owner of, to sponsor a street closure, which you can do in New York City. And he put together this unbelievable day, something now I realize I never could have done if I had gotten the street closures done comedy.
Well, yours would be simpler though, right? Couldn't you just do it with a bunch of comics?
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, you planned an entire day from noon to midnight. I mean, pretty much. It was very impressive. You said they would let you get there at 10 or 11.
We started. I got there at 10, but like we could close the street at 11 a.m. and we had to open it up at 11 p.m. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, you got there at 11, and that's an entire block that he put together. It was amazing. And I just have the listing of the bands and stuff that were going on because, I was angered about each one of them individually.
I know.
So I thought I'd just go through it. First, I'll start with that Queens Music Academy and fuck that lady that runs it. They're horrible. These are kids that are untalented and awful and should not be performing in front of any kind of audience whatsoever. And this lady who runs it just came on like at the beginning and said, "Hi, we're the Queen." I'm like, "What? That's my job. That's my job. I'm supposed." And Memo was even like, "We told her not to start, but she doesn't listen. Like she just started." Remember, they started early. The show wasn't supposed to start. Like I was supposed to start the show, and this horrible woman with her horrible kids. I mean, really, those kids were awful. And I've seen kids that are good. And those kids are bad. And then they brought up that girl to sing who was a little older, so you thought she'd be better. Wow. They were all bad. And the music teacher was bad. The music not just the woman who ran it, the Asian woman, but that guy who was playing the piano with them was also just bad.
I mean, it's a music school, right? Like it was more like for the parents is like what that was for. It was like a recital for parents. So,
listen, Memo, as you know, I was in those music schools.
Yeah, no, I know.
Pointed out that boy in the whatever he was wearing. I mean, I've been in those music schools. I've done those recitals, and I'm sure that everybody that I was with was much more talented than these awful kids. I know you can't say anything. I'm just telling you, and you know how I felt about it, and you know how I feel about subpar performances. And that lady was like really annoying. She was like, "No, one more song. And then it was starting. Memo's trying to keep to a schedule. Memo gave me a clipboard.
Right.
So I could keep to the schedule. And I'm a stickler for the schedule, as everybody knows.
Right.
And I think I put fear into the people that so they wouldn't go all the time. So,
I think so. That was, yeah, no, you were very good at that. That was good. That was important.
Remember that little girl who came over with the clipboard too? What is she, 4?
Yeah. That's Vivian. She's hilarious. She was like your protege. She was ready to yell
It
at
was
everyone.
so funny. She had a clipboard of her own, and she was like, "We have to stick to the schedule." And I'm like, "I like you, kid. I like your style." And then I had her always tell everybody, "Your time's up." Like when Memo was on later, she's like, "Hey, you can go tell him his time's up." And then Chris, your co-owner, he was like, "Don't do that. He hates that." And I'm like, "No, he told me to do it. I would never have done that when the guy who's running it is on. He asked me to pull him off." But because then the next band was the 49th Street Band, which is Memo's band. Now it was the Memo Salazar show because Memo was in like 10 bands. His kid performed and he showed a short film. But if you're going to put it together, well, who's going to complain about that?
Well, the truth is, like, I didn't know at first if anyone was like, I just didn't know that anybody would care about, or who was going to show up or whatever. So I was like, well, at least I know I can at least guarantee that, like those 2 bands, because I'm in them. So at least I can make sure there's gonna be something, and then like the film, like we can start there as like my basis. So I feel a little bad about it that I was so in so much.
I was just giving you shit because you shouldn't feel bad. You put the whole thing together. No one cares. I don't think people even recognize, besides myself, that you were hogging everything. I mean, really, nobody's thinking about that except a deranged single man in his 70s.
Right.
Like, everybody else there was just thinking about what a great time it was.
Yeah, no, that was the point. Yeah.
And I mean, folks, the thing is also Memo's like, he's one of those do-gooders, those annoying do-gooders. And so he's like, had all these people here from the 45th Street compost, store or whatever. These people were, I mean, very nice, but it's like, yeah, can you tell people about our 45th Street compost store? And like, and don't mistake it for the 49th Street compost store, because those people aren't doing things correctly.
No, but the story with that is that so the city stopped composting last year when COVID hit. They cut the budget and like they weren't collecting.
What?
And yeah, I know you've already even noticed because your building probably doesn't do it, but like the city does compost pickup, like trash pickup. And so a lot of people were like, what do we do with all this like extra food? We don't want to throw it in the trash. And so they actually took over a piece of land on 45th Street, which that's what that became, that group. And so like, it's been pretty cool. It's like they talked to the owner of the lot and he was like, okay, sure. He kind of got into it. He let them use it. So now it's like this whole like operation for like composting and stuff. It's really interesting.
Composting is just duty.
Well, it's your vegetable scraps and it turns into duty for like fertilizer for the soil, So it doesn't turn into duty, it turns into, soil, like nutritious soil.
Sure,
so like
you say.
That's the whole point. So they were, it's like a cool group. They like just kind of did it on their own. So
well, I remember I was going to all these, they had all these little stations, like what would you call them, tables? There were community tables set up also, where there was the main stage. And then to the left was all these community tables where they had shirt screening, and you could make flower crowns from what was that place? The Hogshead.
Hogshead Ranch. They had that. Yeah, I didn't know who was doing the flower crowns. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all like people that care about the environment and stuff. And then there was this other table. I mean, all nice people, and I always went around to see. Let me talk about your table. And there, it was Queensbridge. It was like a camp or something for kids, I think. And they were, giving out cupcakes where you take donations and you get a cupcake. And they were telling me how it works. I still don't even remember because they were telling me too much information. But then they're like, and we're making sure we employ Black women for something. And I'm like, nah, I'm going to stop you right there because now you're just annoying me. Because and I said, I'm like, you're not annoyed, but it is annoying in a way because like whenever everybody says they're just going to employ Black people, because I'm like, well, what am I going to do? Okay, but that's me. But I'm saying I can't go up there and say that as a middle-aged white man. I don't even want to say, hey, they employ a lot of Black people. It's good. It's like, I know I'm going to mess it up. And I told her, I was like, you don't want me going up there even mentioning the word Black. Trust me on this, but I'll just tell them you do good, because you know what I'm saying. I'm like, yeah, and they also hire Black people. That's terrific. You guys are okay. But everybody was so nice. But why wouldn't they be? But it's like I think I got a little jealous and I kind of got upset. Like, I think just I was. I don't know, it's like it was just like everybody, all their families were there and stuff, and you have this community, and I just don't feel like I just don't feel like a part of anything anymore. So
right, but let me go back to the 4,000 times you've told me you'd never want to live in Queens, and it's how frightening and disgusting it is. And
yeah, no, I don't want to live there. Yeah, no,
right. So
not. I just wish I had a community like that in Jersey or something.
Right, but there's a reason you don't, right? Because like those people don't think that way. Like they don't think like a community. Everyone just has their cars and their houses and they just do their thing and they don't give a shit. So.
Well, some of the people get carried away. I mean, that girl, Victoria, was angry at the bike lanes. And, like she's angry at the bike lanes. Now, I don't understand how somebody who runs a compost heap could be upset about a bike lane, which is made so there's less emission going out. And then she goes, well, it's just for rich people riding their bikes. And I'm like, Memo rides a bike. Do you consider him rich? And like, yeah, that Mexican he's so rich, and his grandfather invented the subway. And
she has a beef with bikes. We actually had an argument about that. She like hates bikes and the whole bike program. And I'm like, all right, whatever. Like that, whatever. That's your deal. But no. But she put together all of the community things. Like it was all her. Like all that tabling. She was great, but that bike thing, that complaint's got to go. That's like, I know it's a dumb complaint.
This is like me growing up and trying to like be like, well, look, if you want to run a compost heap, which of course I would have made fun of that years ago, but it's like, come around. But I mean, you're there. If you're running a compost heap, how could you hate a bike lane?
Yeah,
so that doesn't make any sense. That was very weird, but we worked it out and we got along very well, swimmingly, I would say. And and their kid, this kid, his kid's name Cooper. It was his birthday. He was in Memo's band. Then he was in another band. He's like 25. He just turned 25, right?
Yeah, no, 22.
22, right?
Yeah.
But he's wearing like a dress. And I'm like, what is happening here? I am just too old for this. I mean, he was a delight. Very talented, actually, as it turns out. He, it was just like, who's this crazy trombone player in Memo's band? Then it turns out he plays lots of instruments and writes his own stuff, and he was very good. But he's wearing a skirt, and I am just an old man who cannot.
Well, I think that was part of his costume because I've never seen him wear a skirt. Like I think that was just part of his stage thing,
Yeah.
That was. Yeah, I think so.
Got two mothers, right? So I don't know.
No, I mean I don't care either way. I'm just saying, like I had never.
No, I know you don't care. You're a much more. Woke person, of course, than me. And I would tell you, so the next band was called Pickled Onion.
Argument comes on work computer, no time, broken printer, phone highs, plastic shoes, no thanks for anything done. Other way. What have I done to deserve this? What have I done to deserve this?
I remember how angry I was because they weren't there on time, and apparently they lived in the house in front of where the stage was.
Yeah, they're like
going ballistic. Yeah, I was just like, "What? I don't understand. You're saying they live in this building, and they're not here yet? This is the kind of stuff that drives me crazy." Obviously, And then they cut out early because their son was crying, but that was the ones that had the adorable daughter.
Right.
And what a remember when she fell and we thought, this is going to be really bad. Like she maybe, and then she was just like, yeah. So anyway, we were talking, when is this band finished? Should I get them off now? It was unbelievable.
Yeah. She didn't care. The one kid I've ever seen that just didn't care. She just completely wiped out. She was fine.
Me too. I thought for sure, you always have the fall, then the pause,
right,
then the crying.
Right.
Massive crying, and it didn't happen. And then, of course, Memo's kid was in this group called Dance Matters, and we've talked about before on this show how amazing your kid is, not just in general, but as a dancer, because we still, me, my mother, my sister, Rachel, none of us can believe when you told us she was dancing in the Nutcracker for Christmas. We didn't know she was the goddamn lead. Like, it was unbelievable, and she was terrific, and maybe if somebody says, yeah, I'm in the Nutcracker, don't worry about it, Yeah, so it was her troop, but then I got mad at these people because they weren't on time. I have to go all the way down. I think, you're talking to their teacher, the woman who runs or invented Dance Matters, right? So they're somewhere, and I'm like, well, they're with their teacher, they're practicing, so I'm sure she knows what time it is. Meanwhile, nothing, right? So I go down, and it's like, a walk to go get them. And I tell the teacher, I'm like, hey, 10 minutes. We need you there in 10 minutes. And she's like, what? And I'm like, what? I know you heard me. And then it was really annoying. And then they finally came up, and I'm like, and then she's like, wait, where are we dancing? I'm like, see, that's why I told you to be here early so we could figure it out.
Right.
Thank you. Sorry. Why does that kind of stuff get me so angry?
No, it's a two-edged sword. It's like, on one hand, you want everybody to pay attention and read the emails that you send them and everything. And the other, it's like creative people never give a shit about any of that stuff. So like, you just have to accept that.
And that's the other thing, right? Memo sent out a thing. He goes, hey, give us all the people and the names of your band so the MC, me, can announce you. And only one band did, the Tape Hiss, and they were the premier band, and they were really good.
Yeah, they were amazing.
I had all their names. And that guy Ernie, he was the one from the Modern Lovers with David Robinson.
Yeah. Ernie Brooks. That's he's the local guy, right? He's the one I asked if he wanted to play, and he's like, I'll bring some friends along, And it was like all these amazing musicians. So
yeah, everybody was really great, including Chris Jr. But they were really good. They were all nice. They were there on time. And they gave us the names in advance, just like, yeah, these guys get it. So I was very pleased with them. And then I was like, you could just let them go as long as they want. And, but then he told me, like, the lead guy whose band it was, he's like, well, he's got to go to work,
right,
on a Sunday.
Right. Yeah, he works for Carolyn Maloney.
But that's the best part, because if you don't know, Carolyn Maloney is the one who saved my ass by getting me all my back pay and all that kind of stuff, set up stuff with the unemployment. So I love her and him, and I didn't know that you and I could have the same congresswoman. I just thought you have a district in Manhattan, and there's no way that goes to Queens as well. But I guess that's how it works.
Yeah, I didn't know that she was yours either. But like, I mean, that's like, for example, AOC, right? She represents like us, and then she represents the Bronx, like across the water.
Oh,
and it's
AOC is your representative?
Yeah,
wow.
And the Bronx. So it's like, it's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so Carolyn Maloney is not your representative?
No, wait a minute. No. You're right. She's not. She represents she represents like right up to Sunnyside.
Oh,
so so like a lot of the work I do with that land trust is in her district. So we work with her a lot. So so you're right. She's not actually my personal representative, but she's like Ernie's like she's like everything up to where we are. So it's weird.
Yeah, believe me, if I was a Democrat, I would go work for her because I love her. She's wonderful. And
you should ask Ernie.
I know. I'm thinking of doing that. I mean, she really helped me out. And if that's the kind of stuff she does, then I'm all in. But I told you, I've been waiting. Al Franken's at the cellar all the time. So I've been waiting to run into him. And I said, sir, if you are going to run for Senate and take on that horrible Catherine Gillibrand who took you down and ruined this country from having a fun president, then I'm all in. I will change parties and help you run.
Wait, are you saying he's like in New York now?
Yeah. He's been at the cellar. He's been going on stage.
But he like lives, he's a resident of New York?
I believe so, yes. I think he moved.
But he could run for New York. Oh, that'd be great if he ran for New York.
Take on that whore.
Oh, yeah, I would completely support him. No, she killed his career for no reason.
Yep, for no reason. Exactly. Thank you. Finally, we agree on something political. Can you believe it?
Yeah, no, that was
And then
horrible.
You know what Memo did? He put on a comic, and it wasn't me. Some guy named Tony Loud.
Yeah.
Never heard of him before. Apparently,
Little T.
God.
Little T. Yeah. Yeah, he's Miguel's cousin.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, so that's how this thing works, huh?
Well, no, I put out
All
a call to
nepotism.
everybody. I put out an open call to anybody that wants to do comedy or dance or whatever. Just fill out the form. But he was the only one.
No, he's the only one. Well, he was nice. He was nice enough. And then this guy Jax Gabriel came in. He was a handsome fella, and he was so nice. And he was there on time, and he didn't need any setup. We like that, right? Like he just had a
he was
guitar.
amazing. Yeah,
and
he was like an Eastern European Elvis.
Right? Yeah. It was really funny. And then and so nice guy too. Really nice guy, And he's local. He's a Queens guy
he's
too.
from around here. I didn't know him, but yeah, he's from around here.
So then the rest of the block of the show sucked, all because of this guy, Kevin Zuniga, who is the worst person ever. Memo can't say anything. It's fine. Because then he took out the next 2.5 hour block and his girlfriend who was playing first was late. So this guy Jax had to go longer. So he played for like an hour, and he's just a guitarist, when we were having all bands on. But he was good. And then his girlfriend just played that slow jazz, music, which was okay, which was fine. But then it needed to go back to what?
She was a good singer. Like she was, they were a good band.
Yes, she was okay. But then they needed to go back to a little bit more. And unfortunately, this guy, Kevin, took us down a very downward spiral with these awful children, the student of Bilingual Music Academy.
But you can't say, like, you were complaining about the first kids early on and how like untalented they were, even though it's just, these kids were really good. It was just that they went on for like 45 minutes.
Exactly. Right. Well, that's the issue. When you have kids going, you don't want them to do a full set like the adults do, unless they are some prodigy, and even then, you want to like 2 songs maybe, and you're out. And this guy, Kevin, he finishes with the stupid kids. And then he goes on, and then we're like, hey, 5 more minutes. He's like, 5 more minutes? I was told I was going to get to play till 7:15. And I'm like, what, are you kidding? You've been on for 2 hours between your girlfriend, your kids, and you. Are you fucking kidding me? I mean, I hate this guy. This guy was such a douchebag. And he wasn't a douchebag. But that thing was uncool.
Yeah.
Because he even said, I'm sorry, I was the reason my girlfriend was late. So you can take it out of my time. So we did. And then he complained about it. What an asshole. And it's not like he was stunning the crowd with his, prowess. In fact, he sucked. He really sucked. He was in a jazz band where he was maybe mouthing a couple of words, and then the band was taking over and he was playing some sort of snake rattle. Stinks. I hate that guy. I never want to see him again. And I never go to the Bilingual Music Academy because they stink. But
those kids, you gotta. Those kids were really good. I thought they were great. The crowd.
They
loved
were
the
okay, and that's it. But that kid. Well, first of all, one of the kids is the cutest kid. He came out with a bow tie, and you're like, well,
yeah, he was hilarious.
Once he came out with the bow tie, well, he looked like that kid from that commercial, that Shriners commercial. It was the most adorable, and you'll get this adorable blanket.
But then he belted out, like when he started singing, it was like, whoa, this kid can sing. Like he was.
But everybody left by that time. Actually, they didn't leave. It was amazing, but I would have left if I was sitting there. But we had, you had a really nice crowd there for a while. It was really fun, and then of course that Kevin thinned it all out. But I guess that was your plan to like kind of finish it up by like 5 o'clock or so. Like, even though it kept going, I assume the music that you put in, you were asking the crowd to disperse.
No, I didn't know. Honestly, I didn't know that. Like, I didn't know them. I knew they did jazz, right? I was, and this was on me for not doing a little more, asking more questions. But like, I was under the impression that his students was like a group of older students who had like a Latin jazz combo or something. That was like in my head.
Yeah,
I would have been curious. And so I was like, oh, it's just like a couple of kids. But
it was difficult for me not to just kick them off right at the. All right, you're done. You're done. Yeah.
Honestly, I was just trying to get everybody that signed up. I was just like trying to give everybody time. And now
I know you were, because then Memo had his other band,
right?
Arawaks,
right?
Comes in again.
It's crazy.
Was that the one? Oh, that was the one. I like that. You wrote some song that I keep singing in my head. Was it?
I wrote
trash or something like.
Oh, the Trash Amazon song. Yeah, it was like a punk.
Well,
song.
I hate that song, but it was a catchy song. I don't know why you're so against Amazon, you weirdo.
Oh, they're terrible.
Oh.
But and then I rewrote Sting. I rewrote that Police song. That was the other one.
Which song was that?
I might have missed that one. They that song, Too Much Information. It's like a Police song.
Oh, that's an old one.
Yeah, it's an old one. So,
and then that kid Cooper came on again with his band. It was like band, but it was fine, And then there was a film festival you imagine this? At 8:30, 8:45, Memo put up a screen that he got from. I was like, "How are you going to do that?" And he just bought a screen from home, and he's showing all these shorts from local people. And I'm like, "All right, I'm taking a break now." I finally sit down for the whole day. I wasn't sitting down. I finally sit down in a chair, and then I hear this guy's voice, and I'm like, "Wait, he made a film too?" And his voice is, and all he does is trash Staten Island and how horrible it is.
No, it's the other way around. That's the whole point. Is how good Staten Island is.
I was not getting that feel from the movie.
No. The opening. It's ironic, right? The opening is about how we all think Staten Island is a dump, but then you realize it's not a dump, and there's a lot of cool, interesting stuff there. I've
been telling people that for years, but nobody listens usually. But when did you do that? When did you have time to go to Staten Island and interview people?
You would sometimes you'd ask me, "What are you doing this weekend?" I'd be like, "I'm going down to Staten Island." Like all through 2 years ago. Actually, like literally 2 years ago, I started, and then I was doing it through the fall, and then COVID hit, so I had to stop. So all that footage I got from
all the people in the film are dead now.
Yeah, we'll find out when I go back there. Yeah.
No, that's my favorite Dan Letterman joke. When we were watching the Charlie Chaplin movie at the Comedy Cellar a couple of years ago with Audrey, 23-year-old Audrey.
Yeah.
And Letterman just goes to her. There's a bunch of kids in the movie. He goes, all those kids are dead. It's funny for so many different reasons because it's true. Number one, it's just a funny thing to blurt out. And when you're telling a 23-year-old, it's even funnier for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
All those kids are dead. He's just not expecting it. And it's hilarious.
And Adam, he's good. It's funny. He's really good. Like every time I see him, because he's such an oddball, like in person, it's like he can't really have a conversation. And then he gets up there and I'm like, oh, he's actually really, he always reminds me how good he is.
He's funny. He's good. He's a nice guy. And he's very smart.
Yeah.
He's a U of Penn graduate, So
I did not know that.
Yes, I did not know that. But I will. Oh, and then there was this guy, this Uncle Jimmy's.
Oh, Uncle Jimmy, yeah.
Just kept bringing pizza pies all day. I've never seen anything like it. He was like, whatever you need. He bought maybe 20 pies first. And then he goes, and I think your wife was upset. Like she didn't want to ask him for more, like, because they were trying to stop not giving it out to everybody, just the performers and the volunteers. And then he was like, no, I'll just get some more pies. I'll get some more pies. And he bought 20 more pies. Then he bought like 20 more pies. It was unbelievable. What a great sponsor.
Yeah, he was that guy's. The thing is, so Victoria knows him because she lives on his street. And when we were playing music all through COVID on the sidewalk, we'd always order pizza from him. And he'd always like bring it out and give us like free garlic knots or whatever. He loved that we were just playing music. He was like, this is great. Keep doing it, So we just kept doing that every week. And we would just be out on the sidewalk by his pizza place. So he loved that. So when she mentioned this thing, he right away was like, he's been waiting. He's like, he grew up here and he's like, we used to do that back in the day. We'd have block parties and whatever. He's like, I miss that. So he got so excited. He was so helpful.
I forgot to tell people, like when you came up with your band, it came out of COVID and you were just playing outside, right? On the
sidewalk. Everyone was afraid, because we couldn't, you're not supposed to be inside and masks and all that. And so we just like all had, lawn chairs out on the sidewalk and we just sat like 6 feet apart or whatever.
Acoustically at first?
Yeah. Just for us or whatever, but the neighbors could hear it. And like there's this drunk Irish bartender who lived across the street. She would come out and like she loved us. She would bring us beer and she'd be like, oh, play this and play that. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I thought you said there was this drunk guy kept yelling out his window saying, shut up. And I'm like, I know, I apologize again. I didn't realize it was you. I thought it was somebody else.
Right.
But that is pretty cool. But
that's how this all started, was like, that kind of feeling. And then also the reason I did the film festival was that I had to have a public screening of that short film because I got this grant, and that's part of the deal is you have to have a public screening. And I was like, where am I going to do a public screening during COVID? And I was like, well, I'll do it here. So
wow, boy, you hit all the.
I had to check off all the boxes.
You checked all the boxes for everything. That's amazing.
That's how it works.
Like you're telling your band, like, no, I'll get us a gig. Don't worry. And then you worked out getting them a gig. It's unbelievable. And you got all the permits and all that nonsense. And
Yeah,
You
that
know, we
was a
got
pain.
lucky. The cops didn't say a goddamn word, which was, oh, let me, the cops are so afraid to do anything right now. It's so messed up. The other day I was walking down the street in the village and a motorcycle was on the sidewalk and the cops were right there. They didn't even bat an eye. They're like, ugh, what are we bothering? They should have stopped this guy. But
I thought they were like, they were just, I got the feeling that they just stopped doing stuff just because they're like overwhelmed other stuff and they're like, we don't give a shit anymore.
No, I think they're afraid to do anything now. You know, everybody's all uptight, you know.
Well, now with Eric Adams, they're going to feel empowered again. So don't worry, that'll be over. Our new mayor.
Yeah, what about him?
Well, he's like super pro cop. He used to be
good.
a cop himself. So like he's like,
all right. That's what I thought. That's what I was hoping. Good. Somebody's got to clean up this town after the de Blasio mess. I mean, this guy really messed up what Bloomberg and Giuliani put together, the good Giuliani put together for, you know, they really cleaned up the town, which was disgusting. And they cleaned it up and made it great. And this guy just in his 8 years just fucked it all up again.
Oh, he's really incompetent, that guy. He's just an idiot.
Yeah, I talk about it all the time in the sense that, you know, like when I met Dinkins, like I always hated him as a mayor. You know, he was an awful mayor, but what a great guy. You know, great guy. I feel the same would be de Blasio. You know, you just meet him. If he was at that community thing, we'd probably think he was the greatest guy. You know,
I don't know anybody I know that has to work with him. They just think he's a douche. They like nobody.
Really?
Yeah, nobody like he just doesn't have a personality and he's an idiot and he doesn't know what he's doing.
Bad. I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt in the sense that maybe he's a nice guy. You know, like it'd be like I was pointing out, like hanging out with George W. Bush. You know, hanging out with that guy would be a good time. But he was an awful president.
Right.
But you know, hanging out with him, it would be fun drinking a beer with that guy. Just like in the
yeah, he wouldn't be drinking. He'd be doing coke with you, is what he would be doing.
You know what I'm talking about. You love that guy. W. Yeah, you love him. I know you like the Republicans when they're in office.
I love them. They're great.
Who doesn't? Well, Memo, thank you so much for spending some time so I could go over all these bands and what makes me angry. That is what the podcast is based on, as you know.
I figured. I figured that was the point of this. But about keeping the faith. So
stop it. We're not even on the K's yet. Anyway, thanks a lot for coming in. Thanks for letting me perform on your show.
No, it was great. Thank you. You were great. I mean, you know, you had the energy, you got the crowd. You didn't really get anybody that angry, which is really, I appreciate that.
And the ones that I did, I made up with, you know, at the
Right.
end. So even that guy Kevin doesn't know how much I hate him. And I'm like, no, you don't know. We were just trying to keep the sketch. You know, like,
Right.
He's like, no, I understand. I'm like, yeah. You know, whatever.
Wait, until this podcast blows up, like one person will hear it and like start passing it around. Everyone's
I hope so. Exactly. That's why you never have to worry about talking bad about anybody on this show. But no, thanks again, and just have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
You are the best and beloved on this podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, let me know when that Uptown Girl is up. I'll be on.
I will do.
Hello? Can anybody hear me? I'm somewhere where I don't know where I am.
The Night Fly with Dave Juskow.
I'll tell you, man, that kid is some sort of clown, man. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he is a real cat. He's one groovy cat, man. You know, it's really amazing that he was able to put all that stuff, do all that stuff with it. I mean, Jesus, I don't do a quarter of that stuff that he does, and I don't have anything to do. I said that already. But let me show you right away about what the scene looked like. I'll share my screen, and then you'll be able to, you develop photographs. So I'll start with this. This was, if you're looking at the video, this is the crowd I was performing to, which looks hilarious because this just looks so sad. But it was fun. I was standing over here on the right, and if you're not on the YouTube site, it's just like I'm on the street facing this park, and there's just people sitting in chairs. It's really, really funny. But this is the video, and you'll be able to hear it of that horrible first kids band who just suck. I mean, I don't care whether the kids, and I don't give a shit. You know, people get upset. Oh, they're kids. Fuck that. You know how I am. I treat everybody the same. And these kids are going nowhere fast. And they just stink. And their teacher putting them out to slaughter like this is pathetic. But here's the video. I taped it so you could see what I had to open for, which is embarrassing for me being, you know, the seasoned professional. You'll be able to hear it if you can't see it. I would have pulled my kids out of that school. It's a goddamn embarrassment. You can see there's somebody older. They're playing the keyboards. She was the worst. I don't know what this kid is doing on the guitar, sitting on his chair playing it. And the kid on the drums was actually probably the best one. And the teacher sucked because then he ended up playing the drums and singing, and he sucked. And the person that runs the studio is an asshole too, as we already talked about. And here is later on when it was nighttime, where look at Memo. I mean, he's so amazing. Like, he's showing his film. Here's the Uncle Jimmy's Pizza. And look, he just put up this little tiny screen, like an old projector screen, you know, just a tiny screen. I thought it was going to be shown on a wall to make sure his short film was shown. But everybody else, he has a little projector right there on this fold-away chair, and everybody's watching. Here's the kid who was wearing that skirt. I don't understand that, of course. But yeah, look, everybody was intrigued. I mean, what a strange community. I would have been furious. I don't know why, but see all the Uncle Jimmy's pizzas there. It was so nice. Yeah, and finally I was sitting down, and I'm like, well, I'll just take a picture of it and see what happens. This is the Golden Girls skateboard. As you can see from this guy's collection, I had to take a picture of it yesterday. Look at this. It says "Stay Golden." It's a picture of all the girls on the front of the skateboard. It just says the Golden Girls. It's huge. It's hilarious. It's in pink. And that is a really funny thing to buy. And quite frankly, if I went to a place, I'd probably buy that too, because it's so funny. But then you can see he's got the case. He's got just on the side. He's got a, wow, I didn't even notice that. You see that? He's got a doll, an action figure of John Cusack holding up the boombox from Say Anything. That's great. Wow. I got to say, that's a really good one. Oh, that's just a bonus if you're watching the YouTube thing. Wow, that's really funny. And then he's got all this stuff. What is that? Is that Woody Allen on the bottom there? No, it's, I don't know who it is. It's a Simpsons character, I think. But yeah, so obviously I had to take a picture of that because I knew I was doing the slideshow. And here is the picture of movie night, when I think they show a movie every day during the summer. This is the little park in between and Pier Village. The ocean's right here in the front. And I just took a picture. I'm like, look at these people just hanging out watching Wonder Woman 84. I mean, I know there's only 3 people there, but they don't care. You know, they just show the movie, and when you're walking by, it's airing and stuff. You see it's an inflatable big movie screen, unlike Memo's. I've seen those before. It's really great. And they have this little community, and they show movies in the summer. And this, like, my apartment would be like right up here. And it just seems like, you know, I like that they do that kind of stuff. And it is kind of funny when you're talking about moving, and then you see this kind of community thing that they have here. I mean, Wonder Woman 84 sucks, but if I saw it this way, I'd probably like it a little more. I like that they were showing a movie. It looks pleasant there, doesn't it? Oh, and this, I took a picture yesterday. I was with Nick Griffin, and we were at the diner, and I took a picture of all the napkins that were behind me, because you know how, you know, I'm a stickler for that. So I was like, wow, I'm sitting in the exact right place. I basically needed to show that to my mother, because she knows how. I was mad when I got to her house. I'm like, you couldn't give me one more napkin? She goes, no, I put one over here. I'm like, but there's still just, she goes, these are big napkins. I'm like, God damn it. You know me already. And here's me making the face at the diner as if because I was sitting there by myself. Nick left, and I had to kill time while the cleaning lady finished what she was doing in my house. And I'm trying to capture the expression that Bill Murray made in Groundhog Day when he was sitting reading, and the music was playing, and that's when he decided he was going to learn how to play the piano. I'm trying to make that expression in the diner, but I don't know if I hit it. But either way, I knew you guys would get it if you saw it. And this is one thing I found in my folder. It was a newspaper called the Daily Comics. And it was a newspaper that, as you can see, cost 50 cents from June 29th, 1992. And it was a newspaper that only had the comics. And you know how I'm obsessed with the comics and the paper, especially back then. I actually enjoyed reading the comics. Now I just can't believe they still exist. But yeah, I was just taking a picture of the front page of the Daily Comics. I can't wait to send that to Greg Fitzsimmons. And here's that thing I told you about with my Letterman set that I was when I auditioned for the Letterman show. Here is my act, and at the bottom, as I said, I'm just making it bigger. You can see my betting slip: Alabama minus 17, Tulane plus 22.5, 10 times, Oregon minus 19.5, Minnesota plus 2. Right under Charlton Heston and Edward G. Robinson imitations, and Sammy Davis Jr., Charlton Heston, and Edward G. Robinson. How did I not get Letterman? What? The sec reads Spader, Bowling, Willy Wonka, Pavarotti, Corky from that show Life Goes On, because you used to be able to do an imitation of a retard back then. I know you're not supposed to do the word or anything because I can't even believe it. The Tony Roberts, Neil Diamond, Ruth Gordon, Paul Lynde. I mean, I expected to get Letterman from this. It's so hilarious. Then a list of my Halloween costumes from 1970 to 1978. And this was my plan to get on Letterman. And if you ever ask yourself, why isn't Dave Juskow more successful? I guess I'll just send you this sheet of paper. In 1970, look at this. This is our show. This is our show. If you wonder why, it's like, where were you guys in 1995 or 6 when I auditioned for this? In 1970, my Halloween costume was Bingo for the Banana Splits. It says it on this piece of paper. I'm reading it verbatim. 1971, Jack Wilde and H.R. Puffin stuff. In 1972, I went as Buffy from Family Affair. In 1973, I went as Don Corleone. I mean, are you fucking kidding me? In 1974, I went as Bill Daly twice. Right, because that's why I said I made a note for myself. I went as him in I Dream of Jeannie in 73 and 74. 74, 75, I went as him in the Bob Newhart show. In 1977, I went as a bar mitzvah boy because I just wore the suit that I wore to my bar mitzvah. And in 1978, I went as Schneider from One Day at a Time. Are you fucking kidding me? This is how I expected to get on Letterman? Wow. And this is the I guess it was in LA, and it was just a flyer I got. And I used to write my act on the back of a piece of paper. And on this one, probably maybe this is around 1999. I have pretty much the same stuff, but I added my Happy Days routine and the Joker from Batman. Oh, and of course my Who's the Boss bit. I don't even know. This is embarrassing. You know what? If you're on Patreon, you should unsubscribe because this is an embarrassment that you follow me. I am embarrassed. No, but you guys get it. This is hilarious. How did anyone expect to be successful with this act? But ironically, the next picture I'm showing is my contract for Saturday Night Live. I told you I found it. This is a true contract a 5-year contract I had to sign. It's addressed to my stupid manager. His name's Ken Trush, but they should have called him Ken Douche. July 22nd, 1996, with the NBC Entertainment logo on the top. The Ray line reads, Saturday Night Live / Dave Juskow. Dear Ken, this will confirm the terms of the agreement between NBC Studios and Dave Juskow, quote, artist. They leave that quote artist with respect to artist performing services for NBC's Saturday Night Live program series as follows. And then there's a whole bunch of shit. NBC hereby engage. I won't read everything, but engages artists hereby agree to render service as a regular performer, i.e., a member of the series repertory company in the first 9 new series programs to be produced during the 1996-1997 season. And then it goes on. But my favorite part, which you're going to love, again, if you're watching it, it's fascinating to see. Here's the salary for the first 5 years. And this is fascinating. Remember, this is like what, 20, 30 years ago. It's different now, or is it? Because does it need to be different? You're signing this contract if Saturday Night Live tells you we want you on the show. So it said, here's the program for you. For the first season, each program I make $5,500, and then there's a replay fee for $1,000. The next season you make $7,500. The 99 season you make $9,000. The 2000 season you make $11,500, and by your final 5th season you're making $15,000 an episode, which would have been, look, $5,000 an episode would have been unbelievable, but it's really only in the 5th year where you make what I remember Jan Hooks was saying is only by the 5th year I'm making what a normal person would make on a sitcom. I think nowadays it's so much more, but yeah. Isn't that fascinating? When I showed the girls at my office this, they were all like cozying up to me. Hi. It's like $5,000 an episode really doesn't seem like that much, but if you're working as a legal secretary, I guess it is, since, geez, was I even making $5,000? I think I was making over $5,000 at my firm, but then the second season I was making much more each episode than I'd make a month at my firm. Fascinating stuff. I left the other page on because it's fascinating. I think is this the one that I thought was interesting? Right. Artists will be entitled to do non-identifiable voiceover commercials, to make a reasonable number of guest appearances in daytime television, and to make up to 3 guest appearances in primetime television during each season, provided, however, that with respect to any such guest appearance, artist is not that that rest of the stuff is. Artists will not portray any character portrayed by artists in any series, program, nor burlesque, satirize, parody, or hold up to ridicule any such character. I mean, they really give it to you good. And remember, this was signed before I auditioned. The day I auditioned, you cannot audition. You can't go on stage until you sign the contract. July 23rd, 1996. We're coming up on the anniversary of that day. Meanwhile, it was faxed over, as you can see, which is even funnier. So how about that? The next thing I have here I found is an email from my friend Kelly. I blacked out her phone number. Who knows if she has it. And this was one of the best nights of my life. She was this beautiful girl that I used to go watch Monday Night Football with all the time and drink and have wings. And she was a friend of a friend, and I always liked her. She was so beautiful. And this was the first night we ever hung out alone. And she's like, I think I have a place for us to go. As you can see, I mean, if you're seeing it, just says, do you mind going to Time Out? This is this place on the Upper West Side. She goes, if we hate it, there are lots of options. I'd love to be on the Upper West. Is that too selfish? I guess she was living there at the time. So, this is the note, and we went there that night and had the best time and kind of like fell in love because we did. We had such a spectacular time. When I came home, I'll never forget, I felt so good. I was so happy. But if you are on YouTube right now, I'm going to zoom in. You see what the date was when it was sent, and it reads Monday, September 10th, 2001. I mean, this email is epic. September 10th, 2001. The next day, everything fell apart. I'll never forget. I couldn't have been in a better mood. I must have come home like in a TV show, in a sitcom, where I was like, I'm in love. And the next day, we didn't see each other again for years after that, because everything just, obviously, September 11th happened, and then I don't know what happened. I mean, I know what happened, but then we never We just never communicated again for a while until we did again. And she had a very steady boyfriend, but in Chicago, who she ended up marrying. But she was deciding between me and him. We fell in love. We started fooling around on Monday nights. Oh, it was the best. We used to hang around Monday nights. That was our night. We'd go out. We would drink. We'd eat wings. We'd watch football. She was a big, I mean, it's so hard to find a girl like that. And it's funny because that's what I used to do with that girl, Trish. You know, and it's like she was deciding between me and this guy. I'm like, wait, I didn't even know I was in the mix. I just assumed we were just fooling around, but she liked me. I guess, again, if I had made the move and said, all right, look, let's do this, we would have been okay. But, at this point, why would she want to, date somebody who has $12,000 that owes to the IRS? But doesn't everybody? But, yeah, I love this email. Monday, September 10th, 2001. Boy, this is going to be the best time. Woo! The next day. So also, as you can see, here's the date, Thursday, July 5th, 2001, all before the world fell apart. I've had these emails. So I went to London in July of 2001 and opened for this band called Roman Holiday, which I'll play their music next week because I don't want any trouble from YouTube. I can't imagine. If I was to get in trouble on YouTube from playing a Roman Holiday song from the 80s, I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. I mean, I should call that guy who's in Roman Holiday and say, like, you're not going to believe what he'd probably be thrilled. But it was this band I was opening for. I knew the lead singer, and everybody helped me write jokes. I was opening for them. So this is Chris Regan, who is now the producer of Family Guy, and he wrote a bunch of jokes for me about British bands. So I just made some examples. Chris Regan is so funny. He was so talented. He was writing for the Daily. I got him a job writing for the Daily Show first, and now he is writing for Family Guy, and he's been writing for a long time. But I wrote some of his stuff. A Flock of Seagulls. Flock of Seagulls was proof that America was no slouch in the world of sucky new wave bands. The band is still working together while their haircuts were reunited with a goose's ass. Hey-o! Bananarama. Bananarama, an easy name to remember, but not as easy as their alternate name, A Hot Chick and Her Two Plain Friends. Yeah. Well, and he wrote like 4 pages of stuff, which was so kind. Culture Club, Boy George. Boy George enjoyed the kind of tremendous adulation transvestites usually only get in the back of Eddie Murphy's SUV. Remember the time. Falco, remember that guy, Rock Me Amadeus? Of course, Falco died a few years back in the car crash. It was his second worst hit. I mean, this stuff is gold. Frankie Goes to Hollywood. The lead singer was named Holly Johnson. Holly, which grows in the winter, and Johnson, which grew every time the guy in the band with the mustache came on stage wearing a saddle. A lot of gay jokes. A lot of fat jokes. Stuff you, I guess, couldn't even do any. Who knows? Men Without Hats. I marked a couple. Men Without Hats were recently billing themselves as men without visible means of employment. Murray Head. It was the only time in the 80s I wasn't begging for head. I mean, look, they're not all gems, but he wrote 4 pages of stuff. Nina, remember that 99 Left Balloons? The song that warned of nuclear annihilation and taught people everywhere that the Germans didn't have a word for Captain Kirk. Psychedelic Furs. This band wasn't psychedelic, nor were they furry, but singing brothers enjoyed by fat art school girls didn't look good on a t-shirt. And finally, the Vapors. You remember them from Turning Japanese. This song took its name from the idea that you look like a Japanese person when you masturbate. Apparently, the lead singer's penis was smaller and more efficient. And now, this green piece of paper here in this notebook, I'm pretty sure was all Attell's stuff. I think we met at a coffee shop, and he gave me a shitload of British material to do. Everybody was really helpful, and I just found it. I'm just going to read you some of it. It's got to be Attell's. I don't write jokes like this. Your guys move to it's hard to read because my handwriting sucks, but your guys move to America when they get famous. Our people move here when it's over. That's not that good. Okay, but You guys are 5 hours ahead, so don't tell me if Robert Downey Jr.'s in jail again. I like to watch the news here and call home. Mom, Robert Downey Jr.'s in jail again. That's the gag. Hey, what is it with you guys in climbing Mount Everest? I know these are Attell's jokes. They weren't. He was just rattling them off for me to use. What is this one? Rush Defense Star Wars System, the defense shield to protect against missile attacks. I haven't heard that since I won't come in your mouth. What? Yeah, I definitely didn't write that one. Oh, the Eurodollar is so stupid. I'm on the $5 bill. In your parliament, you keep yelling. We need silence so our guys can get blowjobs. We don't knight people here. We make them governor. Jesse Ventura. That's what he was. They say New York and London are a lot alike because I have no money and I'm not getting laid. Hey, I think I used that one. I don't remember. What is this? Right. Am I the only one who? We're talking about Sting. Am I the only one who didn't like him? No. Am I the only one that didn't like his music, but I loved him in Dune? Well, that's not very good. I'm afraid to make no, that's not good either. Sorry. Then he made a whole bunch of weakest link jokes. Remember that? The weakest link? You are the weakest link. The timing is hilarious. We'll give you back the weakest link, lady, if you give us back Madonna. You can see I've crossed Cher out because Madonna, remember, with her British face. That's the sign when you know someone's going to turn gay. They move to London. You guys are looking at me like I'm President Bush. You can see Attell saying these, but, he'd figure it out better. I just got beaten up by the Clockwork Orange guys. That's a good one. Who would have thought Ringo would have had the most stable marriage? Is this good? Are you enjoying this? Because I am enjoying. I think how I dare any podcast to have this much one-liners today. Mick Jagger likes to go down to the hospital. Oh, Mick Jagger likes to go down to the hospital and watch his girlfriends being born. He's so good. I guarantee I didn't write these. I'm sure it was Attell. Maybe it was a bunch of guys that I went to the coffee shop and they were all helping me. Regan might have been there too. But it sounds like Attell, right? Earls, Dukes, all we have here is Robert Downey Jr. There's a lot of Robert Downey Jr. material. If you need help in your country, you can always run to Robert Downey Jr. and the police will come running. Oh, it's a lot of Robert Downey Jr. The best actor we have will try to be English the best actor we have to try and be English is always in jail. Well, here's a good one, which of course you're not allowed to say anymore. Hong Kong boat people, you opened a boat of 400. You opened a boat of 400. Oh, you opened a boat of 400 Chinese people. That explains why I didn't get my wonton soup. When I wear glasses, I look like Harry Potter. Now that's only funny because it just came out. Like Harry Potter wasn't. Now that sounds stupid, but he had a couple of Harry Potter jokes. I want to have a family, not because I like kids, but I won't be embarrassed to buy the Harry Potter books. I was feeling a little sick, so I went to a doctor. Doctor Who, maybe you know him? Stupid. You gave us the weakest link. We gave you the real world London. That weakest link, the weakest link lady, she was a drunk and cheated on her spouse and had a bad marriage. In our country, we don't call them game show hosts. We call them McKennedy. Hello. Couldn't we have? No, that's not a good one. How could Sarah Ferguson have gotten so fat? The food here sucks. She should be called the Duchess of Pork. It's brilliant. The Tower of London, I saw the rack, and I'm not talking about Elizabeth Hurley's chest. Folks. Different acting schools, hours. Nah. No. Here we have here we have nameless people pushing people in front of trains. Here you call them working at the Tower of London. Here, maybe it's in our country, we have homeless people pushing people in front of trains. Here you call them working at the Tower of London. That's funny. I said it wrong and I messed it up. Right. Then I just had a whole bunch of stuff. Last time I was here, I was so high for Star Wars. I thought I saw Yoda, but it turned out it was the Queen Mother. You can see it says it was the Queen, but then I think the guy who I was opening for said, say the Queen Mother. It's funny. Of course, nobody laughed anyway, so it doesn't matter. You have a Jack the Ripper tour. I said, come on, I'm from the States. I can turn on the TV and see what OJ's up to. That's a good one. Julia Roberts, I have you people hate her twice because she has twice all those teeth. Guess it's a joke about British people's teeth. Hey, ladies, Tom Cruise is available. I did the most dangerous thing you could do over here. I had a burger. Here's a good one. In the States, you have an old man living alone. You call him gay. Here, you call him a butler. The kid from HR Puffin Stuff is your Robert Downey Jr. Boy, that combines everything we talk about and a diss on Robert Downey Jr. The Queen's trying to save money, so she's flying domestic. They check her in the overhead baggage. What's she going to do? Chop your head off? Well, I mean, look, they really can't all be gems. I'm pretty sure there was one writing session at a diner in 2001 before everything fell apart. And it must have been Regan too, maybe. And they just gave me all these free jokes, which, as you could see or hear, some of them were so funny and so good. And that's just off the top of the guy's fucking head. So yeah, right, they're not all gems, but they're still goddamn good. Goddamn Attell, right? So I thought I would share that with you. I thought it was pretty funny. Hopefully you were laughing a little bit when you heard them, I hope. And seeing the handwriting and that it's on the paper, for me, it's like having a Beatles song handwritten on a piece of paper. The magic of David Attell's mind. That'll work for me every time. So that's pretty much our show for today. I showed you everything I needed to show you. I think I spoke about everything I needed to speak about. I hope you enjoyed this video, audio, or monthly podcast today. Obviously, next week we'll go back to our regularly scheduled format with audio and just regular hijinks. But yes, don't forget, this week on or tonight rather, on the Comedy Cellar live show at 7 o'clock, we have Jeff Ross, the Roastmaster General, and Esther Koo. And on Billy Joel, we finally have Don't Ask Me Why, which is a really great song. And Julian Villard and his really great, he actually regales us with a version of his song called Don't Make Me Play Piano Man, or something like that. You know, it's the opposite of Piano Man, and he writes very different lyrics. It's really great. So you should listen to that too, as it is the companion piece, as we call it, to the night. All right, everybody, have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.